so we are here for math. Before we start practicing telling time, let's warm up our brains a little bit. Let's practice counting by fives. Ready? Clap along. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. But first graders don't stop at 100. We go all the way to 120. Ready? 105, 110, 115, 120. Whew, it's been a while since we've done that. We haven't been able to play number game. But if you want to teach your parents or your siblings the way we play number game, that would be a fun activity to do when you're done with your schoolwork, right? That's a really fun game that works all the time. Okay, guys, so we have been practicing telling time. Let's review the things that we know. So this type of clock is an analog clock. Analog means two moving hands, right? We have the long hand that tells us the minutes and the short hand that tells us the hour, right? This type of clock is a digital clock. And on a digital clock, the first number tells us the hour, right? That matches the short hand. These two dots separate what the two hands do, right? So the first one tells us the hour. The second group of numbers tells us how many minutes. And yesterday, you guys practiced telling time to the half hour. And there are 60 minutes in an hour. So if this is showing me 7 o'clock, then this minute hand is going to travel halfway through the hour. And now it is telling me that it is 7:30 or 7:30. That's right, 7:30 or 30 minutes after 7. And that hour hand is between 7 and 8. It didn't go to 8 yet, because if it went to 8, it has to start at 8 o'clock, right? It didn't enter 8's room yet. So if it's in between two numbers, you have to go back, right? Hook it back to the previous number. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about today. We know that there are 60 minutes in an hour, but there are more than 12 hours in a day, right? The day first starts at midnight, right? Have you guys heard Mom and Dad talk about that word midnight, right? When on Happy New Year, the next day starts at midnight, even though it's in the middle, right? Everything is dark. Everything is, the sun is still sleeping, right? The sun is still on the other side of the earth. But midnight is when the next day starts. And midnight happens at 12 o'clock, right? Midnight is 12 o'clock. And the clock goes around for 12 hours, right? It goes through 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, back to 12 o'clock. And 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, or midday, is also known as noon, right? That's right around the time when we eat lunch, noon, 12 o'clock. So the first 12 o'clock is midnight. The second 12 o'clock is noon, or midday. And then the clock goes around again, right, to all the hours. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, back to midnight again. And then it's the next day. So, because every day has two 12 o'clocks, two 1 o'clocks, two 2 o'clocks, how can we tell the difference? Have you guys ever heard moms and dads ever say things like AM or PM? Well, what AM means, so the M in AM and PM stands for midday. It actually does it in another language, but that's what it means, midday. And AM is the morning, right? In the other language, it is ante meridiem, right? You can tell moms and dads that. They'll know what that means. Ante meridiem means before midday. So AM means before noon, right? Before the middle of the day. PM means post midday or after midday. Now, the way I want you guys to remember this is that AM comes first and PM comes after. Well, let's think of a literacy skill that we practice all the time with our spelling words. We always put our spelling words on Thursdays in alphabetical order. Well, what comes first in the alphabet? A or P? A. So this will help you know that AM is the morning, right? AM comes first, then comes PM, right? So the day starts with AM. The first midnight is AM. Then PM is noon till midnight again. Because when it's midnight, it goes back to AM and the next day starts. So let's take a look at this real quick that I made. So AM, we start at midnight, right? 12 o'clock AM. And when it's midnight, right, the sun is on the other side of the world. We do not see the sun. It is dark out. And maybe the moon is out and maybe some stars, right? And the hours go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That might be around the time when you wake up in the morning, right? That's 7 o'clock AM. And 8 o'clock would be the time that you come to school, right? When we get to school in the morning at 8 o'clock. And so the sun is up. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, that's about the time we eat snack. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock p.m. That's our midday. That's the middle of the day. And 1 o'clock, right? So now we're in p.m. a.m. stops as soon as it becomes 12 o'clock p.m., right? See how it's blue, just like p.m. is? So these are our a.m. hours. Midnight, and then all the way up to 11:59, right? So a.m. goes from midnight to 11:59. Because then it becomes, so the clock will look like this, right? It's almost noon, but not quite, right? So those are the hours that it is a.m. The p.m. hours are 12 o'clock, midday. That's p.m. Whoops. To 11:59 p.m. The 1 minute before midnight. Oh, sorry, guys. 1 minute before midnight. So that's our p.m. after a.m. hours, right? But p.m. is the afternoon and the evening. So 1 o'clock, that's when we would be going out for recess. That's p.m. That's right after lunch. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock is when you would be coming home from school, or for my friends that go to aftercare, that would be your time. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock would probably be around the time when you're eating dinner, between 6 and 7. Maybe 7 o'clock is when you're taking a shower, putting on pajamas. 8 o'clock might be the time you go to bed. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And until 11:59, it's still p.m. And then 12 o'clock midnight, the next day starts. So, one whole day can be split into two halves. One whole day has 24 hours. The first 12 hours, or the first half of the day, is a.m. The second half of the day is p.m. And that day splits at midday. Midday stands for middle of the day. That's the exact middle of the day, 12 o'clock. And that's when p.m. starts and the second half of the day, right? So what we're going to be doing in math today is practicing what times you would do some of your activities. Okay, so if you have your math books, you can open up to page 578. And it's showing us an analog clock. And you have to figure out if it would be daytime, if it would be a.m., or if it would be nighttime, which is p.m., right? So the first, number 1 is showing us 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock, can you see stars at 9 o'clock a.m. in the morning or 9 o'clock p.m. at night? Nighttime. Now, it doesn't say a.m. and p.m., but you are so smart. You are amazing. So I want you to circle night and also write p.m. Okay? Number 2 is showing us 11:30. 11:30. Now, do you eat lunch at 11:30? Would that be in the day or at night? 11:30 would be the day. And we know it's not PM until it's noon or 12 o'clock. So is 11:30 a.m. or PM? A.M. That's right. Now, if you eat lunch at 12 o'clock at midday, then it would be PM. But if you eat lunch at 11:30, which is when you ate lunch every day in kindergarten, 11:30, then it would be AM. So circle day and write AM next to it for me. Let's try number 3. Okay, it says 9 o'clock. The shorthand is on the 9. Sorry, I have to sneeze. Sorry, guys. The short hour hand is on the 9. The big long minute hand is on the 12, which means it is 9 o'clock. The 9 o'clock hour is just starting. Okay. Go to class or go to school at 9 o'clock. Would that be 9 o'clock during the day, AM, or 9 o'clock at night, PM? Would you go to school at 9 o'clock PM? No. So circle day and write AM next to it for me. Awesome. All right, number 4 is showing us 11:30. Now remember the first one said 11:30 for lunchtime. This one is showing us the same time on the clock. The hour hand is in the same position. The minute hand is in the same position. But it's asking us what activity we do. Go to sleep at 11:30. Would that be day or night? AM or PM? Night. Yeah, so circle night and write PM for me. Super, super. Okay, number 8. Missy can't read. Number 5, the problem solving. Let's read it. Mason goes to the library at 12:30. Well, here's 12 o'clock. If we want 12:30, that minute hand is going to travel halfway around the clock. Is that 12:30? What would that look like on a digital clock? 12:30. That's right, or 30 minutes after 12. Does Mason go to the library during the day, during AM, or at night, PM? Well, let's step away from day and night. Now, he's at the library. Is he doing it after midnight or in the middle of the day? Middle of the day, but he's doing it 30 minutes after midday, right? 12 o'clock noon is midday. 30 minutes after, right? Noon starts PM. 30 minutes after is going to be PM still, right? So the correct answer is PM. It is going to be, even though the sun is out, right? The sun is out. It is PM, right? So I hope you guys, I want you to recognize that daytime, the sun is out during AM and PM. And I want you to recognize that the moon is out during AM and PM. Or if the moon is not there, right, the nighttime sky is out during AM and PM. Which is why it's important for us to know those meanings of AM, right? Ante meridian, which means before midday. And PM means post meridian or post midday. So that noon is that half mark of the day. Okay? So AM is the first 12 hours of the day, PM is the second 12 hours of the day. And daytime, the sun is out during both, right? So we got to use our brains and figure out what time is what. And we're going to practice this a lot. And later today on Seesaw, you're going to practice for me. You're going to give me 6 things. 3 that you do in the AM and 3 that you do in the PM. Okay, so all the directions will be there on Seesaw for you. So an example might be, I make my bed after I get out of it, after I wake up, maybe at 7 o'clock AM. Maybe I am still sleeping at 5 AM. And maybe I go get ready for school at 8 AM, right? Eat breakfast at 8 AM. Then in PM, maybe at 3 o'clock, I am done with school, so I go outside and play. Maybe at 6 o'clock, I eat dinner. At 8 o'clock p.m., I climb into bed and go to sleep. So you can do any activities that you do during the day, and this will be on Seesaw, okay, guys? And I'll give you the example for it. Talk to you later.